Well, hello and welcome to this week's edition of the City Update. I'm your host, Mark Aaron, Multimedia Design Manager for the City of Danville. As you can tell this week, we're on the road. We're out here at Dan Daniel Memorial Park, post 325 field, where the Danville Braves play their regular season games. And joining me today is Mark Washburn, who's a crew supervisor for Danville Parks and Recreation. And Mark and his staff out here at the Braves Park have received some special recognition just recently, as the Danville Braves were awarded Field of the Year by the Appalachian League. That's the rookie league that the Braves actually play in. And Mark was fortunate enough to be named Turf Manager of the Year by the Appalachian League. And so on today's show, we wanted to celebrate that recognition a little bit, talk to Mark a little bit about this award. And I think they're actually up for an even larger award now with the 5 other leagues. Correct, Mark?
That's right. What they'll do is they'll have other people in the same league with the similar fields and facilities. They'll match those up against each other and then choose one in the end.
Okay. And I know Mark has a great crew that he works with on a daily basis, not only here on the Braves field, but throughout Dan Daniel Memorial Park. And on the second half of the show, we're actually going to talk to Mark a little bit more about what his crews do on a daily basis here in the city of Danville for Parks and Recreation. But Mark, I want to talk to you first about this great award. I know this is something near and dear to your heart because your guys work very hard every day. And the Braves aren't the only ones that play on this field. Obviously, you were awarded this for the Danville Braves in the Appalachian League, but I know there's a lot of other games that are played on this field, so you guys work hard even when the Braves have a day off. But let's talk a little bit about this award. What do they look at when they're looking at a Field of the Year award?
Typically, they're going to look for the professionalism of the crew first, and that's what we take our pride in mostly. Mm-hmm. Also, there are some other things like the slope of the mound, the condition of the grass and turf areas, as well as the clay areas, how well the home plate area is for the umpires, for the catchers, for the batters. There are several things. You know, they look at the aesthetics of the field in general, the grades, whether it be sloping off too much, too little, also the edges of the grass where it meets the clay. Okay. They use all that into a broad judgment and then make a decision on each individual specific. So
now, how do they get feed? Do they get feedback from the players, the coaches, the umpires on the condition of the field?
That comes from a general consistence of the players. The coaches get together, they talk with each other. Then the umpires, as they're out here umpiring the games, they make their decisions then. They look at the field while they're already here.
Okay. So now, for our viewers at home, let's talk a little bit about how you make this grass look like carpet as we're standing on here today. Is you're cutting it here for the first time because I know in the off season you handle things a little bit differently. So tell me a little bit, though, during the season, how you go about getting the game started. And let's start with the grass and how you make it look so pretty.
Well, first off, as soon as the Braves are out of here, we get right back to work. I believe it was 2 days after the Braves were gone. Mm-hmm. We were already overseeding. That was approximately 2 weeks ago. We have a few clumps you can see behind us. We're just now getting started mowing into that. We start our fertility right up for that. We're already making plans to regrade the slope of the mound, rebuild the mound completely, the plate area. As you see behind us also, we have just started nail dragging the field, trying to get it back into a level condition. Okay. There's several things that go on out here, even though the Braves are gone. Okay. It's always a work in progress.
And you talk about when the Braves are gone, because I know there was some upgrades that were done before the Braves arrived this year, right? Some capital improvements that were done to this facility just in this past year, right?
Yes, there were a vast majority of improvements. The one I'm most appreciative of is the drainage we have in the outfield. Mm-hmm. We did not lose any games due to a wet outfield, and that's been a problem in the past. Also, we've replaced the wall. It looks very nice now. We've replaced the warning track, and I really think that brought out the color of the grass. It's really aesthetically pleasing now. It's very nice.
So when you talk about replacing the warning track, tell me what all went into that. And for our viewers at home who aren't familiar with the warning track, that's for the outfielders, give them an idea of how close they're getting to the wall. The grass stops and it becomes a gravel or a dirt. Can you tell me a little bit about the replacement of the warning track?
Sure. What they did, they took a grader. They went down three inches all the way around the turf areas on the outside, approximately 12-foot width. They went down 3 inches, took out the existing rock dust. They came back with brick dust with a mixture of a black clay mixed in with it to give it a little deeper color. And of course that was graded back out and packed in.
Okay, very good. Now let's talk a little bit about day-to-day operations when the Braves are playing. Can you walk us through what you and your crew do to get this field ready for the Braves to play on?
Sure. Well, typically on a Braves game day, we have one person start at 7 in the morning. He'll start with getting the dew off of the turf so it can be mowed once it's dried. He'll start with a nail drag on the clay area. He'll make sure that the mound and plate are properly packed and level. He'll come mow the outfield, which takes approximately 2 to 3 hours before every game. After that, by then the clay is usually dry enough to drag. We'll drag that, broom the edges of the clay, retarp the mound and plate, and by the time we get all that done, really the Braves are already out here practicing and warming up. Once they're out here, they're going to start taking BP, specialized workouts. We usually have to move around nets and screens and the big turtle, we call it, for the batting practice. After that, we'll have about approximately 30 to 45 minutes to actually set the field up for the game, and what we'll do then is re-drag it, pack the mound if we need to, if they tore it up. We'll put down the lines. We'll start watering the clay area to make sure the moisture levels are proper. You don't want it too wet. You don't want it too dry. If it's too wet, it's slippery. If it's too dry, it's too hard. Like I say, we typically redo the field in the 45 minutes between batting practice and the actual game. And then at that time, we'll send one of our 3 guys home. 2 will stay for the game, make sure everything's okay, no emergencies. They'll come out in the 6th inning, do a field drag for to make the field smooth again, and make it safe and playable. At the end of the game, typically, we're going to come in with another nail drag. We're going to broom the clay chunks out of the grass that were thrown out. We'll typically, depending on the weather, whether we do the nail drag or the mat drag. If it's too wet, we'll do the nail drag. And then after that, we're going to make sure the mound and plate's packed properly. We'll put the tarps back on that. We have been known to come out here at 12 o'clock at night after a Braves game and mow the field if we're going to be pressed the next day, or sometimes we have to aerate at midnight after the games just to get it done, because there's just not but so many hours in a day, and there's not but so many people working for the city. So a lot goes into making this this Braves field playable for this minor league team, and as Mark mentioned, it's an all-day process, and they play on this field. Gosh, I would say 4 or 5 times a week, right? Usually, depending on whether they're in town or not. Right? Sure. When we have homestands, sometimes we have games 10 days in a row, which means there's somebody on this field, at minimum one person and up to 3. 10 days in a row from 7 to midnight. That's what it takes to keep a field in professional shape, which we were able to do this year, even despite a few obstacles. But that sort of thing comes with the territory.
Yeah, well, that's great. So the recognition, well deserved. Mark and his crew. Now, you mentioned, how many members of your crew do you have that help you with this field?
This year's been a little different situation. We've had a few staff changes. This year we've only had 2 full-time staff on this field, which is about half of what we normally have. We had some issues there. We did have a couple of good public service workers come in, and they were really, really helpful. Really helped us get this field in shape. And if not for some of those guys, it helped having a good part-time staff come in this year. That's what that, and plus the help from the curb market on the other side. They helped pitch into. It was a lot of people gave a lot of effort to help what we did this year.
So it was really truly a team effort from Parks and Recreation to make it happen this season. And then I guess all the hard work really paid off with this recognition as Field of the Year and you Turf Manager of the Year.
Yeah, it sure. It's really good to get the recognition. I wish I wasn't the only one standing up here, because there are several more people that deserve the credit just as I'm getting here today. Yeah. I can't go into specific names. I wish I could, but everybody that had a part in this field deserves part of this recognition. And like I say, I wish they were here to get some of the recognition.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, we want to congratulate each and every one of Mark's team members that made this possible this year. And Mark, let's talk a little bit more in detail about what goes in, because you mentioned nail dragging and dragging. For our viewers at home who may not be familiar with baseball and the terms of that, talk a little bit about why you have to nail drag that infield, and then maybe net drag it versus, what else you would normally do there. And you talk about packing the mound. Why do you have to do all that? I know it's all for safety for the players, right?
Okay, typically when you have a smooth surface of clay, everybody knows what clay is. Yeah. If you live in Virginia. Mm-hmm. Typically when a cleat goes into it, it pulls out a small quarter-sized chunk of clay. If it's a deep hole that leaves, the nail drag is going to help bust up that chunk of clay. It's going to somewhat very lightly till the field to recondition it. Once that dries in really good, then the clay actually becomes brittle, and you can bring the mat drag out, and it turns it into somewhat of a powder to fill in those low spots, the tiny low spots. Okay. And then once you get that settled back in, you put more water on it to kind of mold it back in shape and kind of make the clay bond together. Mm-hmm. As far as the mound, typically we have anywhere from a 1 to 4 inch hole in front of the rubber that we have to actually take a bag of clay, put the material in there, pack it in by hand with about an 8x8 tamp. Again, it's all dependent on the moisture as to how much you tamp it and how well it's going to hold up later. But you're going to do that after every single game. The same way with the plate. It's where the batter stand. There's going to be a small hole. We have to fill that in with packing clay, and then again, tamp it, wet it, get the proper moisture levels to get it to bond back together.
And our viewers at home who have ever attended a Braves game, as Mark mentioned, you've seen his crew or him out during the 6th inning, usually dragging the field. And will y'all wet it a little bit during the game, or it just depends on conditions?
Usually we don't have time to wet it during the game. We've yet to run into the situation where that was absolutely necessary. Right. At that point, it would mostly be for aesthetic purposes, but the fields look pretty good all year, and we really hadn't had that necessity this year.
Now, we talked a little bit about the grass and having to cut that, every day once the Braves are in town, but you obviously have to manicure this grass year-round. How do you keep it to where it looks so nice year-round and it's ready to play come June of next year?
I wish I could answer that in one statement, but that's not possible. There's many things that go into maintaining turf to a professional level. You've got to aerate. You could aerate every week, as long as if you're on Bermuda, you can aerate every week. Mm-hmm. You can top dress it 2 or 3 times a year. That's putting a light coat of sand on it, dragging it in. You just have to learn cutting heights. We've mowed as low as 1/4 of an inch out here. Typically during the summer, we're around 5/8 of an inch. Mm. The moisture level of the soil is very important. That's another big challenge playing with the Braves playing out here. You have to be very careful when you water. Right. Also, learning what the soil needs. You have to take soil samples, send them off, find out what's in your soils, add what's needed, and go from there. Try to get the products out as you have the abilities. Right.
A lot goes into it. And, well, Mark, we're going to take a quick break, but I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Congratulations on the recognition. And we're very fortunate to have the Danville Braves here in our community, and been here since the mid-'90s. And they look at this field, and trust me, if they weren't glad to have the field in the condition it's in, they could always go somewhere else. I mean, if they don't have a nice place to play, there's plenty of communities across the country that would like to have a Braves affiliate in their community. So it's imperative that Parks and Recreation works closely with the Braves organization to get this field in prime playing condition. And because of this award, obviously we're doing a great job here. And Mark, I appreciate you taking the time to explain to our viewers just what goes into this, because it's not just Braves showing up and playing on a field and then a couple of weeks later we tend to it. It's something that we do and take pride in every day, not only during the season, but as Mark mentioned, year-round. And Mark and his crew not only work here at the American Legion Post 325 field where the Braves play, but there's a lot of other things they do at Dan Daniel Park and other parts of the community. And when we come back from break, we're going to talk to Mark a little bit more about what his crew do throughout the city of Danville to make the parks of this area look beautiful. So, Mark, when we come back from break, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Sure, I can't wait.
All right. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to this week's edition of the City Update. I'm your host, Mark Aaron, Multimedia Design Manager for the City of Danville. My guest this week, Mark Washburn, who is a crew supervisor for Danville Parks and Recreation. In the first half of the show, we talked about Mark and his crew recently being recognized by the Appalachian League for the Danville Braves Field of the Year, and Mark was recognized as Turf Manager of the Year. We talked a lot about what goes into really maintaining the Braves field, and as Mark talked about in the first half of the show, in case you mentioned, it is a year-round process to keep that field in great condition so the Braves have a great place to play. Not only the Braves, really, but there's a lot of other teams that utilize American Legion Post 325 field. So Mark and his crew, they're working hard year-round to make that happen, so it's great to see them recognized. And Mark, again, congratulations on that award. And we're still in Dan Daniel Park, but we made our way down to the soccer fields now, and you can see the baseball fields here behind us. Because before we went on break, I mentioned that I wanted to talk to Mark a little bit more about what else they do here in the city of Danville when it comes to maintaining fields. And Mark, we're standing here on the soccer field, so I know this is one field, and we've got ball fields, little league fields behind us. So you guys stay really busy. Yeah, we sure do. There's, again, we've said it earlier, there's always something going on. Out here we've got three soccer fields. One of them is a standard size. We've got two others that are multi-use. We can paint up to 6 fields on each one. Mm-hmm. We just have to overlay the lines like we've done here. We've got out here right now, we've got 3 events that happen throughout the week. We've got one flag football league. We've got a tackle football league. We also have soccer on this one field as well. Right now we have 11 different layouts for these soccer fields. Wow. Between the 3 fields that we paint every day, or rather every week. It takes approximately a day and a half to paint these fields, and we do it on a weekly basis. That kind of gives you an idea on just what goes into just marking. Yeah. That doesn't include fertility, aerating, mowing, the other things that go into it. We also have Little League fields, which you see behind us. Mm-hmm. During the summer, we have up to 4 games each day, 3 to 5 days a week. Mm-hmm. What you can't see, we have softball fields. We have 2 softball fields that see a lot of play, a lot of traffic, a lot of use. We could have anywhere from 8 to about 12 softball games in one week up there on those 2 fields. So it's a lot going on around here that a lot of people don't see. But you know, again, this is what we do. This is what we like. We try to do as good as we can at it because we like it. We enjoy what we do, and things like this kind of give us purpose. You know, recognition is always good as long as it's the good kind. Yeah, right. And I feel like, you know, I'm proud of everybody that works out here. We really work hard, and so all the guys work really hard. I know my son's played Little League since he was 4 years old on those fields, and a former board member. We know of Little League. I appreciate all the hard work you all do for Danville Little League, and as you mentioned, the players and the family members, they kind of show up and the fields are ready, and you guys are long gone by that point, but if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have those fields in the condition they're in to play on, so we appreciate that. And I noticed you were talking about the grass here on this soccer/football field. You said you were changing over the type of grass?
Yeah, it's the same thing we're doing up on Legion.
Okay.
Everybody lives around here, they're familiar with Bermuda grass. It's a summertime grass. It goes dormant in the wintertime.
Okay.
But there are things you can do to keep it green all year, and one of those things is overseeding with ryegrass. It adds a lot of maintenance to the fields, but what you get in return as far as protecting the Bermuda from the colder temperatures and also the aesthetics as well. Okay. It gives you a surface to play on all year round, right. So it really has a lot of benefits.
That's great. Now, not only do you all maintain all the fields we mentioned here at Dan Daniel Park, we also have the large rugby fields at Anglers Park, so you all maintain all of that as well.
Now, that's a real situation down there where we have one big event down there each year. We're kind of limited on what we can put on that field, right. Budget-wise and time-wise. Yeah. But at the same time, we can't ignore it because it's a big tournament we have down there with Duke Rugby. Yeah. So we can't just forget about it. But we can't, with one event, you just really can't spend too much time and right. funds on it.
Yeah. Now, and then also the Danville Riverwalk Trail as well. You all are out on that as well. So our viewers at home may see you guys out on the trail a little bit as well, right?
Oh, I'm sure they see us when we're out there because there's only 4 to 6 feet to get around us when we're out there, so it's hard to miss us. And we're on the Riverwalk most every day. Every day doing something, anything from emptying trash cans, picking up litter, to mowing, trimming the clearance standards, which is 8 foot high by 2 foot on each side. Okay. That's a year-round process we go through. Wow. Trimming trees, grass, year-round. Also, we've got to grade the edges periodically, and after storms especially. Yeah. We blow it anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. In the fall, it's 5 times a week. In the summer, typically only 2 to 3 times. Yeah. But it's as well a lot of maintenance that goes into the Riverwalk that people aren't aware of.
Sure, and that's over 8 miles of trail. A lot of our viewers are familiar with that, but that's a lot of trail you all maintain.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, Mark, I really, again, appreciate you taking the time to join us today. It's always great to go behind the scenes of what our city employees are doing, and it was great to see the recognition you all received from the Appalachian League. Want to wish you the best of luck as you go to the next level and vie for that, I guess, regional award. And those will be announced, I guess, at the winter meetings for baseball, right, down in Florida?
Yeah, I think this year I believe it was going to be in Tennessee. I could be wrong there. Yeah. I'm not sure when that is, but if I'm in it, I'll know it. That's for sure.
Very good. Well, Mark, again, congratulations on that. I want to thank you and all your staff here at Parks and Recreation for all the work you all do, not only at the Braves Park, but again here at the ball fields at Dan Daniel Park, the football, the soccer, the baseball, out at Anglers, and of course on the Riverwalk Trail. Thousands of people use that Riverwalk Trail on a daily basis, so it's great to see it maintained as well as it is. And you never hear much from anybody about the maintenance on the Riverwalk Trail, and that means you all are doing a great job, because I'm out there 2 or 3, 4 times a week running with my family, and it's always well maintained, so kudos on that as well. So thank you again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And thank you at home for watching. Until next week, have a great day.